The Devidians have been an escalating problem in the Donatu sector, with first a Cardassian vessel, the Axon, succumbing to their neural draining effects, causing several deaths, and now an intense nest of them appearing on Drozana Station. Having harrowingly delved into its depths to find them, we discovered a portal to the past and worked out a way we could enter it to find out the cause of the Devidians' ease of access into our realm.
Obviously, the Devidians have found a way to harness this surge of triolic energy. The existence of the Devidian portal means they're traveling freely between the station in the present and in the past. Since 23rd century technology can't detect the Devidian phase shift, that time period is rife with potential victims. The only choice now is to stop the incursion at the source. You'll have to take that portal into the past and find out how the Devidians are creating this new surge of triolic energy. Stop them and find a way back without altering the timeline. Don't worry about temporal investigations. I'll pull a few strings. They'll never know you were gone. Best to keep your team small, just in case.
We are working with Section 31 on this mission, and as a result, things are moving incredibly fast with a lack of red tape. Arriving at Drozana Station, we fortunately mapped the temporal and triolic interference on our last visit. This now allows us to beam directly into the zone with the fissure. If we're travelling to the past, 2265, we should dress accordingly. This will be a strange visit for Captain Mark Hale, who is a displaced temporal agent from 2270, so we're going back to a time he is intimately familiar with, as is some of the senior staff of the USS Daring. Despite Franklin Drake's ignoring of the Federation's Department of Temporal Affairs, Hale knows firsthand the necessity of keeping up the integrity of the timeline. Returning to the Devidians' nest, it seems that we've been able to restore power to some extent, revealing the stained and battered 23rd century equipment and the bare bones of the station's past. It's still a great deal more welcoming than it was formerly, when the Devidians were swarming the place, and we're fortunate that they have yet to return in force. Alongside Hale, who has adopted his former rank and ID as a legitimate lieutenant, we are bringing with us Temet once again, dressed as a junior medic, and Bizarre. While not native to the 23rd century and by no means an expert, the Saurian security officer will no doubt be invaluable in case we encounter some hostile Devidians. He should be here momentarily, in correct era appropriate at... Oh, for God's sake, Bizarre. No, you don't have time to go change. Look, I'm sure nobody will notice. Just say you are fresh off of a deep space mission for the last 7 years or whatever. We approach the temporal fissure, and Temet reminds us of the modifications we have to make to our weapon to trigger the rift for safe travel. She does also voice some concern at trying to get back, but we'll have to cross that triolic wave-induced temporal bridge when we come to it. Okay, Bizarre, let's go give you a tour of my old stomping grounds. More or less. Kinda. Well, that was smoother than expected. We've gone back in time, but not in space, emerging on Drozana Station. It definitely worked. Just look at this place. It's all so rather new. We set our weapons to stun, just in case we have to fire at anything from this era. We want to minimise our impact as much as possible. I'm pretty sure any changes made won't come into effect until this rift is sealed, otherwise we'd have already felt the effects of the Devidians' temporal involvement, so we need to find out what it is they're doing here aside from feeding on the personnel. Once again, this is a recon mission. Temet notes that we'll have to construct our own subspace field emitter in order to locate and see the Devidians properly, something that won't exist for almost another century, though there should be all the components we need, and with the right know-how, we can put it all together. However, This is the central computer core, and there are no technicians present. There should always be someone on duty here, and after a cursory look around, we confirm that we are alone in this chamber. This duotronic core, antiquated and failing by 2409, was state-of-the-art in 2265 and the most powerful in the sector, outclassing that of most starships. And we're locked in. This is off to a great start. The station is on medical alert, so non-essential personnel are confined to quarters while key areas are locked. Such alerts were in answer to contagions and the like in a way to contain the situation. There is a way to override this chamber, however. Using our future knowledge of the duotronic core's performance, we can exploit its known weaknesses. Temet knows of a 24th century warp geometry problem that would be too much for a duotronic computer to solve, no matter how advanced. It's a limitation of the technology of the time. She suggests feeding this problem into the computer core and diverting processes to solve it, thereby forcing a slowdown of its operations elsewhere and allowing us to slip out, as effectively it loses concentration on the security doors. Leave it to a Vulcan to attempt to outthink a computer. And there we go. We engaged enough of the main computer with the problem, and it should now be releasing the grip on the lockdown. This is an easy enough problem to fix too, just retask the computer. So as the door slides open, we're free to leave. However, we come face to face with a concerned medical lieutenant called Myers, who stops us.
What are you doing down here? The station is on medical alert. Nobody's supposed to be in the computer core area but me. Hey, is that a weapon? Don't try anything, or I'll have to stun you.
What? No, he's just the security officer. I'm lost.
The lift shouldn't have let you come down to this level. How did you get here?
We can be honest, saying we're from a portal in the future, which I doubt he'd believe, or we can say that we were stuck in the lift when the alert happened and this is just where we got off.
You should have used the intercom to call for assistance. It's not safe to move about the station during a medical alert.
I know, but we're heading back up to the main area anyway.
Follow me. I'm going to call security for an escort.
I'd really rather that didn't happen, because then they'd run ID checks, so we suggest we might be contagious.
I guess you're right. Look, just go up to the maintenance lift, get to the emergency medical center as soon as possible, and get checked out. There's a doctor up there who has set up a triage center for the affected patients.
Alright, sounds like a plan. As Myers leaves to fetch a lock for access to this level, we climb the station's ramp to the main sectors of Drozana. You know, the Axon underwent a similar process to this. They saw numerous cases of minor injuries, increase in severity, deficient immune responses and the like, and in all these cases, eventual death. They assumed it was an undetected pathogen and only worked out later on that it was the result of a drain in neural energy, causing the body to simply fail. I think we're seeing the same thing here. With Myers' back turned, we salvage the first components we'll need to form our Devidian detector. However, Bizarre detects a security patrol ahead. We would do best to avoid them, and he suggests that we lock them in a room as they search it. Not bad, it's better than stunning them, and this way we don't have to sneak around them either. We edge up the ramp until we spy the patrol, a group of 3 security officers making their way through the corridors, and they enter a side room. Running up to the alcove, we lock the door behind them. Hopefully they'll place the blame on the confused computer core. Alright, 2 obstacles avoided and 1 component salvaged. As we reach the higher levels of the core access, the triolic radiation intensifies slightly and we witness a familiar blue flash. Now on this level there's another console that we need a component from, but it's in use. We could simply knock out the ensign, but let's try to avoid the assault of another officer, shall we? Hi!
Oh hey, you shouldn't be here. You should get up to the quarantine area.
What you doing?
Oh, just running a level 3 diagnostic on the subsystem. The computers on the station are state-of-the-art. I can simulate an entire copy of the station and display every piece of it as a wireframe model.
Wow, that's just super impressive that it can do that.
I know, isn't it? I'm very fortunate to be able to work here. Working on a station like this really strikes home just how modern and new everything is.
Isn't this subsystem here tied to the main core, however?
Yes, although it has its own memory and subprocessor as well. It can even work in parallel with the computer core's main processor.
What happens when they're working together?
Here, I'll show you. That's odd. The core isn't responding to my request. I need to go talk to Lieutenant Myers. Make sure you get up to the quarantine area and get checked out by the doctor.
Oh, Myers is downstairs. He's securing the main core. And also apparently not a medical officer. Ooh, I'm rusty in this time period. Right, let's help ourselves to these components. We have a bit more of a hassle acquiring the Planck regulator, as we have to conduct the maintenance in the correct order to avoid damaging the systems or ourselves. Also, the puzzle we input earlier to the main computer seems to have it quite miffed still. No wonder it's not connecting to this console. It's so strange seeing the contrast between what these corridors were and what they'll become. I can still see some of the familiar features. Still, onwards and upwards. However, the lift stops at the wrong level. If there's a rhyming hologram here, I'm out. Bazaar points out that security have detected our unauthorised presence, or maybe Myers reported us anyway. Either way, they're on their way to investigate this turbo lift and we're a sitting duck. First thing we do is lock down the door, buying us some time, then we look to the Jeffries tubes to find an alternative way up. There are more officers here, which makes sense. We're entering the more occupied levels of the station now. However, none of them are looking this way, so we're able to quickly and quietly slip through. However, there is a single lieutenant facing this way who will spot us no matter what we do.
Hold it right there!
If you're diplomatic enough, you can talk your way out of this situation. However, Hale is not, so the only option here left to him is violence, or exploiting the game by leaving the conversation and running away. Thing is, even this tests their patience, and eventually they will attack anyway. You do get an achievement for talking your way past everything in this level, so I won't be getting that. Conversely, you can also get one for stunning everything on this level. With those officers unconscious, we're free however to go to the console they were standing before in the security room and disengage the turbolift's lockdown. We pass through a room that by 2409 will have been converted into an environmental air control, probably after the Klingons seize it in another few years. On this new level we should be able to obtain an induction coil, the final piece that we need. We then hook the whole rig into the sensor systems and we can get an accurate map of the station with all the Devidian waymarks we're going to need. However, we get waylaid again. On emerging into a reactor room we find multiple officers being attended to by medical staff, and one very surly snippy, Dr. Leonard McCoy, immediately enlists our aid. Unfortunately, and understandably, he's not voiced, but he does order us into helping him, and why not? None of this should be happening anyway. We can ask who he is, but he just tells us off for wasting time, so instead we can ask about what's going on. He says his patients are reporting blue flashes and ghostly images, and people are dying. Or, more succinctly, their brains are gone. Whatever this disease is, it's suppressing brain activity at an alarming rate. Well, he's not wrong. He suspects radiation, so he's setting up in the insulated reactor room as a best guess as a shield. Clever, but unfortunately still wrong, as they simply don't have the means to detect the Devidians wandering around. However, he has devised a theoretical counter to the neural energy drain, a way to jump-start their brains again on what little juice is left. He intends to use a modified cortical stimulator on an inhibited patient to sort of shock the brain into restarting. Once underway, the processes will eventually heal on its own and return to normal, or so he hopes. To this end, he assigns us a medical tricorder and has us take the detailed neural scans he needs to finally calibrate the minuscule alterations to the stimulator. Once we have the data, we can relay to him the correct settings, but first let's see how the human brain is supposed to be. Normal human neural resting potential is at minus 70 millivolts. Human neural activity is at plus 30 millivolts. Neural charge at rest is a neuron containing a positively charged sodium ions on the exterior and positively charged potassium ions interior and exterior. The action potential should be neurons open, sodium gates, sodium transits to the interior. The neural charge switches from minus 70 millivolts to plus 30 millivolts. Cool, I'm glad I have a tricorder to tell me that. We then have to answer these questions based on the results to restore normal brain activity. The resting potential at minus 70 millivolts. Action potential was plus 30. Sodium-potassium channel states were sodium external, while potassium was both external and internal. Okay, that should all be correct. Now, can we zap this patient's brain? Oh, thank God he's fine. I mean, of course I knew what I was doing, Doc. Yes. With this way to combat the neural damage in hand, McCoy dashes off to inform the station's commander. Of course, none of this will matter if we cannot drive off the Devidians altogether, so while he asks us to follow, we slip away to grab our needed induction coil. Yes, now, there's one over there, and that'll do nicely. Don't mind us, just doing some maintenance. The next thing we need to do is harness our jury-rigged detector into the sensors, something that doesn't take us much time at all. Good job they sent someone so familiar with 23rd century technology. Temet gets clear readings. The intense triolic energy is coming from Driffin's comet, the same comet present in both 2265 and 2409. It's emitting triolic waves as it flies through space, and as it passes close to this station in both eras, it irradiates it with its energies. The Devidians are using this phenomena to simply ride in its wake, using it as an easy way to phase into our realms of existence. However, they're also supplying it with chronoton levels, time travel particles basically, and with this amount they may be able to temporally relocate the entire station, or anywhere the comet has ever been, maybe the entire sector. So that's their game. This Drozana is the perfect location for them to begin to saturate Driffin's comet, and once they have a firm temporal grasp of it, they can exploit an entire sector. Destroying the comet should solve all of this, but we'd need to destroy it in the 23rd century, and this era's ships aren't going to be able to get near the thing. And if the Devidians interfere? No, we need our vessel. Our mission here is a success. We have a goal and a plan. Let's return back to the future. We recreate our triolic energy wave patterns to open the portal and return. However, this grabs the attention of the Devidians who swarm us once again, but we're able to fend them off. But there's a new problem. After all our time doing this in the depths of Drozana and here, we've been exposed to dangerous levels of triolic radiation. Entering that portal again will most likely cause permanent damage. Temet says Hieronalin would help flush our systems out, however, she didn't think to insulate the medkit, and the inoculations we brought with us are irradiated. We'll need to procure some Hieronalin from this era's medical staff. Yo, Dr. Bones, give me some drugs. Theoretically, if somebody was like glowing with triolic radiation, would this theoretical friend of mine need Hieronalin? McCoy points out that everyone on the station will likely be receiving the inoculations at some point now, but we do kinda need a significant double dose. McCoy is naturally suspicious, but thanks to our earlier assistance, he spares enough to stave off radiation poisoning for now. Damn it, Bones, why are you so perceptive? However, we can now survive a return trip through the triolic-infused temporal portal. I mean, he completely suspects us of something, but he's got a keen enough mind to simply let us go on our way after seeing that we've not really done any harm, and in fact, we've helped. We return to our time and the much more dingy Drozana Station. Now, we're going to need some serious decontamination after all of that. Still, it was a fun excursion to the past, and we managed to do it without disrupting the time stream too much. Daniels would be proud. However, we're not done yet. We need to get back to destroy the comet itself at some point. We call in to our Section 31 handler.
So Driffin's comet is the source of the triolic radiation. That explains a lot. However, we cannot simply destroy it in our time. The Devidians have the means to go back to the 23rd century and harness its energy there. However, that will be their only other chance. Before that, there's no Drozana Station, so there's no place that will be close enough to the comet's trajectory to be of use to them. The only logical solution is to alter the past. Destroy the comet there, and save the Federation. As it happens, I have access to a way to transport your ship back to the 23rd century. It's risky, but I think the odds are in your favor. And if they aren't, there's always time for another try. I'll make the arrangements. Stay in touch. Drake out.
So that's our next action then, to take the Daring back into the past and destroy the comet there. Thanks for watching this episode of the story series, and I hope to see you for the next part as we delve back into the ever-expanding narrative of Star Trek Online. Thanks again for watching. I've been Rick, and until next time, goodbye.